Iceland is a small volcanic rock crawling up out of the mid-Atlantic ridge between two tectonic plates at the edge of the Arctic Circle in one of the most volcanically active places on the planet. When Euro-Scandinavians first discovered it more than 1,200 years ago, they found an isolated, forested marine ecosystem with the climate and nature of which would provide opportunity to colonizing humans and their livestock for centuries to come. Current DNA studies on exhibit in the National Museum of Iceland tell a lot about who the first Icelanders were. By studying both Y chromosomes in men and mitochondrial DNA in women, researchers learned that most of Iceland's first men came from Norway, while most of its first women came from the British Isles. There's a lot of saga literature about the settlement age, and one thing we know is that many of those women were slaves taken by marauding Vikings on their way to settle in Iceland. Like their ancestors, many of the settlers' descendants sought new homes of their own. Eric the Red was the first European to travel to Greenland in 986, and his son Leifr, born in Iceland, was the first European to travel to North America, nearly 500 years before Columbus did. Today, Leif Erikson guards the Hallgrímskirkja in Reykjavik, and his legacy is one of discovery and change. By the 1800s, many descendants of Leif's relatives still lived in Iceland, but economic hardship convinced many to seek home elsewhere and leave everything behind on a chance for a better life in North America.
Yeah, you can probably jump just down to here, yeah.
I'm scared.
One family that changed its traditions and made for itself a new home was mine. And our story may best be told in the old saga style from the perspective of none other than the Honorable Egil Skallagrimsson's 25th great-granddaughter, my very own Amma, who lives in the presence of 7 generations and anchors the tale we now tell, the saga of Darlene Andrésdóttir.
Swing though, sweet chariots coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariots coming for to carry me home.
There was a woman born in North Dakota called Darlene, daughter of Icelandic immigrant Andrés Guðjónsson and first-generation American Margaret Middal. She never spoke Icelandic as fluently as her parents, nor her 8 older siblings, but they spoke Icelandic at home so much that Darlene's brothers were sent home from public school until they could better speak English. Darlene and her family had attended the annual Icelandic Assembly Festival in Mountain, North Dakota, and wanted to know more about their ancestors and distant relatives. Darlene first traveled to Iceland in 2005 when she met her cousin Marta and explored Reykjavik. Marta's grandson, Haraldur Magnusson, later came to visit Darlene in Dakota. A few years later, Darlene's granddaughter Angela visited Iceland for the first time and stayed with Haraldur and his mother Harpa. Darlene continued to stay connected to her Icelandic heritage and always made lefse, kleiners, and pannakaker for her children and grandchildren at holiday feasts. One summer, the Icelandic National League held its annual conference in Grand Forks, North Dakota, just down the street from the home of Diana and Billy. Sunna Furstenau traveled to the assembly and spoke about Icelandic Roots, a non-profit organization of volunteers that empower those of Icelandic heritage to learn more about their ancestry and engage with living relatives all around the world.
I hope that you have fun at the convention.
Even though we're a bunch of volunteers, this is a professionally managed site. Almost 610,000 people in this database. And we can trace back to the immigration period in Iceland. Beyond that, back to the settlement period. So once we get you on today, in many cases you're going to be able to go back 30, 40, 45 generations back to, well, quite a distance back.
But we're not just adding the people, we're adding their photographs and documents and their stories and obituaries and biographies.
And now, thanks to the Icelandic Roots team, we have GPS coordinates and the maps right there of the family farms. So when someone is taking a trip to Iceland, they can find those ancestral farms, whether they're active or abandoned. A trip of a lifetime, walking in the footsteps of my ancestors.
We're helping others through Icelandic Roots not only to discover their ancestors and living cousins, but also to expand their knowledge for our ancestors and for our future generations. All right, so now I suppose you want to get onto the database. Who wants to get on, huh?
Billy's sister Angela had been planning a trip to Iceland and realized she could use the Icelandic Roots database to make her trip a lot more meaningful, and convinced her family to come with her. So Diana and Billy attended the assembly and signed up for a family membership to the Icelandic Roots community to prepare for their trip. Darlene, Diana, Angela, and Billy made it to Iceland near the end of the summer. Their cousin Haraldur met them at the airport and drove them to his mother Harpa's house in Reykjanesbær. Harpa offered her American kinsfolk hospitality during their stay, and it was well known what a generous and compassionate hostess she was.
Make Amma smile. Make her laugh. Oh yeah.
Darlene only had a few days in Iceland to use the Icelandic Roots database in the pursuit of learning about her legacy. Her family rented a car and drove north through Reykjavik along the Ring Road to the first stop on their cultural expedition, Hood Palace, the former home of her grandfather, Jón Gíslason.
Great-great-grandpa's farm, Billy.
My great-great-grandpa?
Your great-great.
My grandpa.
My great, her grandpa. Her grandpa's farm. My great, your great-great. You can take a picture?
I was gonna say, if you guys want to stand over there, I'll take a picture.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of I noticed you said 1, 2, and no 3. Oh, one more.
1, 2, cute.
I
Use the Icelandic Roots database, and they have census records, and then when you go into each individual person's record, there is a map that you can click on, and it will show you all of the locations from any census records or marriage licenses or death certificates, and it will give you like a map of their life, and it will give you pinpoints all over Iceland and then in North Dakota or wherever they went to from there. They ended up. And you can use that to create a map to come find them.
And drove right to it.
And then just a little bit of Google work to figure out the GPS coordinates, and we're here.
Coordinates are what you told me.
GPS coordinates,
I don't
plug them
understand
into
those.
Google, then you're here.
Yeah.
Can you imagine sitting down with great grandpa and telling him this like 100 years later we're gonna find you by using GPS satellites?
People will be like, why?
Satellites in the sky.
How many days? I don't imagine this has changed much.
No.
This part hasn't changed. Still connected.
Yeah, it's funny feeling. Funny feeling.
Pretty cool. I visited their color
Where? Yeah.
Those like rock formations right there.
I think they are home. It looks like a couple windows are open. What's Jon's last name? Contact us. Who's? Jon. Oh, Jon. Huh?
Gíslason.
Giss.
No, Gislason.
Gis.
Gíslason.
Well, like in Norway, my family, we're called Brenna because we moved to the Brenna farm, which means burn clearing. So the farm was made because they burned a clearing, and like, but they moved to that farm, and so instead of like renaming it after themselves, they took the name of the farm instead.
Yeah. So they changed their own name?
Yep.
Yeah, my mom did too. That's where the
Middle,
came
yeah.
from.
Yeah, Middle is a
Middle
place?
is the township it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your
the
mom was Margaret
Gíslason
Middle.
changed to Middle. Yeah. when they came to the U.S. Too many people with the same last name when they came there, because everybody is a
son,
a dad's
or a
first
daughter.
name and a son, so there's just way too many. So they changed their names. They mostly took the names of their township where they came from.
Big one.
No, and then I will give it
What should we
to
take?
big fella.
What should we take?
That's the one you're taking?
Why is your suitcase so heavy, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, jeez.
Oh shoot, what if they think it's lava?
No, they won't, will they? No,
They won't even check it if you put it in your truck bag.
I'm going to. I'm gonna scrub it all up and put a date on it.
We're leaving a note here to put in the mailbox of the farmers. It says, "Hello, we are visitors from North Dakota, USA. My amma Darlene's grandfather, Jon Gislason, was born here at Hall. We stopped by to take a few pictures. It is beautiful. You can contact us via Facebook if you would like to." And I left all of our full names. And Talk Führer, Darlene, Diana, Angela, and Will.
Nice. Your family. Or maybe not. I don't know who lives here.
No, I don't know.
If they are watching us,
I had an orange one.
you better say yes.
Thank you for the rocks. Yeah. In case you're watching.
It'll be alright. They can read it.
Awesome.
Well, hopefully they find it.
Further north, Darlene looked for the farm of her grandmother Haldora, Jon's wife. But on the way, they drove and stopped by Eriksdóttir, where Eric the Red settled when he first arrived with his family after being outlawed from his home country of Norway.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Angie, that's it. That's the farm. No. Just asked her. We showed her the picture. And asked her where it is. And she said, right there. That's the farm right there. And then she said, where are you people from? And we said, North Dakota. And she said, I've been to North Dakota. And we said, what? Where? And she said, Grand Forks.
No way.
She went to school in Winnipeg. She went to school in Winnipeg, so she wanted to go down to the States, and they went to Grand Forks. He is waiting for us at the camp. He's gone to light a fire for us.
Excellent.
Oh, sweet.
Turf houses were common in Iceland for hundreds of years. The ones that Darlene's parents grew up in would have been more modern than this replica of Eric the Red's house, but the view would have been much the same on a typical late summer day.
No, this house is electric.
Leaf the Lucky. Up we go.
Leif Erikson grew up on this hillside, just across the water from where Darlene's grandmother lived 1,000 years later. When they left, neither of them ever saw their home again. Here, Darlene saw the homes of her mother's parents. To learn about her father's ancestry, her family drove a few more hours down the ring road to Akureyri.
You can always make this again. You can have this, I can make a new one.
Really?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I could never make a new one. I would never. That's awesome.
I was her daughter. Your granddaughter. And then their son, and then this is there.
Old Cecilia Jonsdottir, the oldest of 13 siblings, married Andres Olafsson when she was 26 years old in 1839. They had children and eventually moved to a farm called Fagrenes. Their first child born at Fagrenes was a daughter called Oluf. The next, another daughter called Cecilia. Each sister married and had several children in Iceland. When she was 73 years old, Cecilia emigrated to Canada with another daughter. They left on a ship called Camoens and landed in Winnipeg in 1886. 3 years later, old Cecilia's daughter Oluf Her husband and her children emigrated to North America too. Included among them was 10-year-old Andrés, who would later marry the daughter of Jon and Halldóra Gíslason, who, though their families had not known each other in Iceland, had emigrated to the same Pembina County. Young Cecilia stayed in Iceland and had a daughter Kristjana, who had a daughter Gudrun, who had a daughter Álfhildur Ólafsdóttir. Hilda, the woman we coincidentally booked an Airbnb room from a few days before. She used Icelandic roots and found out that we were relatives and offered to spend the day with us traveling to our ancestors' farms.
Then I get this.
Oh, great.
Here, Laxamýri and Húsavík, and 8.6 kilometers.
We can't not go there. Yeah, we have to go there.
We are going here from Akureyri, and then you cross this here, and then you see Goðafoss. You just see it when you come down this. So,
really?
And you see it from
it's
that
a real
way. Place to stop.
Yeah, great.
I told the lady who lives here and got permission to come.
Cool.
The buildings were here. Yeah. They told us that their family, the farmers' great-grandparents, I think, they moved here 1989, the year Guðjón and Ólaf left.
Yes, yes, okay. We call these marshmallows.
Everything is big in America if these are marshmallows.
Oh, that's like you said, the same mountains that were here. I wish we could see them clearer.
I think I have to come here sometime on a sunny day and take some pictures and send to you.
Okay. That would be good.
That Glaumbæjarsel, the farm, they moved here.
Okay, that's
Because they were moving around in this area here. Akureyri is in this direction.
okay. Did he live here till he came to North Dakota?
Yes.
89.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he lived here 83 to 89.
Okay, 6 years. Okay.
But it's on the paper.
Yeah. I thought he was 11, but he was between 9 and 10.
Yeah. We will visit his birthplace, and after when he was 1 year old, he moved from his birthplace
To that place right over there.
Right over there in the fork.
Till he was
And
3.
Yes, and then he moved here.
over here.
And here he stayed for 6 years, I think, and then he went to Dakota.
Dakota, yeah.
So I think it was.
Yeah, so he would
These were the
remember this, you know, he would remember this
Yes,
place.
yeah.
Yeah.
And these people, this family came here in 1889,
yes.
and they're
Yeah.
still here,
Yes,
this
it was
family.
around 1900, we can say, plus minus 10, 20 years.
Okay.
There became this change that more and more families could stay at the same place.
Yes,
Yeah.
things were going better, and they
Yeah,
were doing
yeah.
better, yeah.
You decide how long you want to stay here in the rain and fog, and you also decide if you want next to Húsavík.
Yeah.
But we're going to one more place?
Yeah, from here we are just going to Stórulaugar, the birthplace of your father, where we are going to meet Snæbjörn.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
yeah, we gotta meet him.
I am coming with you to Húsavík.
Húsavík?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Húsavík is a small town on the shore where many Icelanders boarded the ships that took them to their new homes. This is from where old Cecilia's daughter Ólöf and Darlene's father Andrés left Iceland. At the age of 12, Andrés' brother Hjalmar was expecting to go to North America with his family, but at the last minute, he decided to give up his tickets and remain in Iceland while his family left from this dock, never to see him again.
Imagine getting on a ship right here, leaving absolutely everything and never coming back.
And leave family behind up top.
Leave everything you've ever known behind.
And all these mountains and all this scenery and, yeah.
I mean, for like Mom's father, probably wasn't as hard as his father. You know, Mom's dad was only 9. But his father, taking his 9-year-old and his wife and his kids, and just going. Never coming back.
Imagine getting on a ship here and sailing to Winnipeg.
Yeah,
Can't even.
that must have been a rough voyage.
They get to
Lake
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg. They would go through the Hudson Bay, and down through Lake Winnipeg, and then they'd get off the ship there and take a cart or a train or something south across the
They
border.
walked from Winnipeg to North Dakota.
They walked?
Walked.
Like oxen
Walked with an
behind
oxen.
things.
They had an oxen. My dad's family had an oxen. They talk about. They lost somebody.
Lost
They
someone.
Bathgate. Somebody.
Between Bathgate and
Somewhere between Bathgate and Pembina, somebody got lost or left behind.
Darlene's grandparents Haldora and Jon left Iceland earlier on a ship called Copeland. But 1 month after delivering the Gislason family to North America, Copeland sank off the coast of the Scottish Isles, killing all of the 500 Icelandic horses on board.
A lot of horses were exported to England to work in coal mines. I know this because there are so very poem that was made, history of a horse that was put down into the coal mines. It's amazing. You should learn Icelandic so you can read this poem.
Now that you mentioned a poem, my mother had an uncle that was a published poet. Do you know anything about that?
Your mother.
My mother had an
uncle who was okay. I can
He wrote
find out
poetry and had a book of poetry.
I'm sure I can find out in Icelandic roots.
And my mother wrote poetry.
Your mother?
Yeah, beautiful poetry. And I tried. She and I wrote poetry together.
I never seen any of that poetry.
Haven't you?
No.
I was in like 7th grade and I wrote a poem, first class, and my teacher sent it somewhere and it got published in a magazine.
Cool.
And I wrote the poem about my baseball team. Here I sit watching the clock on the wall, the hands go around so slow. The weather's fine for a game of baseball and my team agrees, I know. And then I had all of the players playing their positions and
and this sounds like you have got the genes, Icelandic genes for making the Icelandic types of poems. Yeah.
I just freeze it.
Yes, you were born here. This was the farm of the old lady.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
On the picture. Yeah.
Okay.
That's where we are stopping.
Great.
The houses with the red roofs.
Okay.
The farm Fagranes. Cecilia, the old lady, and her husband, Andrés, and her father
My
was
father's
named
after him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Common roots.
There we go.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go.
Common roots.
Yeah.
Hundar, really?
Hundar.
Hundar.
Puppy dog. I just felt the tail.
Coming to see
And that's the farm back there. I better get one of that.
Christiana's brother Christian, son of young Cecilia and nephew to Olaf, had a son called Snæbjörn in Iceland. His sons farm near Stora Laugar, where Darlene's father Andrés was born.
Jú, þetta fyrir. Já, heyrðu, takk fyrir og Snæbjörn, hefur þú einhvern tímann heyrt eitthvað af hverju Hjálmar sonur Ólafar fór ekki?
Það er alveg það sem Dagur var að segja mér áðan. Hann hefði nefnilega sest að í hrunni.
Sko, Cecilia Andrésdóttir, your grandmother died in 1918. Sure, yeah. My great-grandmother, yeah. She is born in Fagranes. Fagranes is a place you visited just up.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So this
is my father's grandmother.
Okay, and this is who my dad was named after.
Her father, Andrés Ólafsson, here,
Okay.
this man. He is our common ancestor.
Okay.
I was just noticing a name of one of my school. She was almost a classmate. I did not know she was so related to us.
Oh, really?
Bara nafn.
Mamma Guðjóns er systir Kristjáns.
Þannig Kristján Fjallastóð var föðurbróðir Guðjóns. Nei, móðurbróðir Guðjóns.
I wish we didn't get lost in between all this, from the English to the Icelandic back to the English.
I was just explaining to her the same thing I was telling her.
Okay. Yeah. So is that my uncle poet? That's him?
You said it was Uncle Poet on your
My
mother's
mother's
side.
uncle.
Í Dalasýslu. And I would guess there is another poet in West Iceland. We have got many poets.
Everybody wants to be poets. In Iceland, Andrés and
Cavalier, that's my dad.
That's your dad in North Dakota. So you're from North Dakota?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Andrés taught this person's mother to dance.
Oh, for heaven's sake. My dad was quite a musician. He played a violin and a mouth organ and...
One, two.
Alright, takk fyrir.
It's very close to here.
Okay.
It's the next farm.
Okay.
The birthplace of your great-grandfather, Andrés.
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 Yes, okay.
Stóru Laugar.
Okay, where was the house where my father was born?
There.
Probably here, in this area here.
Okay, so it was in here somewhere.
In this area, yes.
Do you have family living in any of these?
No, not now. I on the other hand own the next farm. Yeah, next farm. I just bought that farm 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You like it over there?
Oh, I love it.
Cool.
Love it.
Farm then? A farm?
Yeah, farm, yes. But mostly we have tourists too, so.
Where your daddy was born, Mom.
Your dad knew your father. It must have known that view.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
this was his view.
It's quite a view to leave behind. Yeah.
Oh, this one's beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Look at this. Hello. What's his name?
Stormur. Means very fast wind.
Oh man, one of them kicked a minute ago. Did you see them? Yeah. Oh, they're gonna go. They want to go to Iceland. They don't get along very well, huh?
They're just playing.
Playing? Okay.
Yeah, I have. They are best friends, but they're practicing fighting. So they're playing and then practice fighting.
Typical brothers. They gotta fight a little bit. Yeah. Hi guys. Grandpa would love to bring one. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Cool. Huh? Yeah, come and see us.
Maybe.
Maybe. You too, come and see us.
Maybe.
All right.
Maybe.
Nice to meet you all.
Good to meet you.
Thank you very much. I'll add you on Facebook as soon as I get home.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
everything.
you. Nice to meet you.
Meet you.
Allra best og ég vona að ég góða minningar frá Íslandi.
I hope you'll have good memories of your trip to Iceland.
Yes. Back to
Just down the road from Snæbjörn's place is another ancient spot called Goðafoss, the waterfall into which the Alþingi law speaker cast his pagan idols upon the country's adoption of Christianity in the year 1000. With this, Icelanders changed nearly 3 centuries of tradition in favor of something new. Menningarnótt, Culture Night, is a day-long festival in the streets of Reykjavik that celebrates the Icelandic tradition of change. More than 200,000 Icelanders and tourists spent the day listening to live music and watching the fireworks together at sunset. I thought about where everybody came from and how it is that we all ended up on the side of this hill overlooking the Alþingi House and the Northern Ocean, smiling at the same colored lights in the sky. And I wondered where we all might go from there.
Hello. I am here with Robert and Magnus. Magnus. You see Magnus?
At Harpa's house, Darlene gathered with her family for her kinsfolk's last supper together in Iceland, with the traditional meal of boiled sheep's head.
The ears and eyes and everything. That's his favorite. What is the gear? He thinks it's a crocodile. So we just have that way.
Just go with
Marta and Sæþór, Harpa and Magnus, Haraldr and Ruth, with Elvar and Robert, Erin and Oli, with Christine and Magnus, all spending time with Darlene, Diana, Angela, and Billy, their cousins from across borders. When our common ancestors parted, they never saw each other again.
What do you mean, Billy?
Did they ever expect their great-grandchildren would someday meet and share in each other's legacies as we had this week? When she left the island, Darlene's family gave her many fine gifts. Harpa had been knitting a hat for everyone in the family right in front of us the whole time we were in Iceland. When he learned we had to leave, Robert recommended we glue our countries together so we can visit more easily next time. An endeavor, perhaps, best left to the minds of future generations. Since Darlene returned to the States, Erin had a new baby, extending the saga of one family that has been told for the last few hundred years by the people of one small island in the subarctic ocean.
This is a real big family. That's all.
Yeah, it is. What is it?
Ice cream. Hurry up, ice cream man.
Okay.
Darlene's trip to Iceland with her family is one episode in a centuries-long story of humanity. Icelanders and their descendants, like people everywhere, will continue to face challenges of identity and survival. Many may change their names or travel the world, seeking the same sense of adventure and self-worth as did the fathers of the first men and women who sailed to Iceland more than a millennium ago.